She did not grow up with her parents. I also didn't grow up with my mom a lot either. So from what I've learned, her mom left her with my mother's aunt and grandmother. So family. I guess my maternal grandma had places to be. She ended up coming back into the picture, but by then my mother was a rebellious teenager, crazy about boys, trying dangerous things. She was born in the early 70s, so by the time she was a teenager, there was a lot of fun things she was getting into. Started drinking at an early age, started smoking pot at an early age. But anyone who knew my mom when she was young, they all have the same thing to say about her, that she was a free spirit in the most positive way possible. She was very loving and very caring and just wanted to have fun, really. She wasn't ever, trying to be a rebellious child or be a bad child. She was trying to figure things out, I think. By the time I came around, I have a lot of pictures to look back on from what seemed like very happy times. I'm the oldest child of 3. My parents had not yet gotten married when I was born. But the pictures that I have to look back on from the 3 of us were wonderful. I mean, we looked like a happy family. And then they got married when I was young. The wedding photos are so adorable because I'm in them. It's in my paternal grandparents' backyard. She just looks beautiful. And then it went south. Shortly after they got married, I don't know if there was a lot of... I'm assuming my parents both were drinking and doing drugs together. There was infidelity. My brother was born. My mom had a lot of postpartum depression after my brother. And they split. And then we lived with mom for a little bit. And what I remember, even though we lived with her, there was a lot of times where we would be sent to grandma's or Grammy's, grandma being paternal grandparents, Grammy being maternal. And the memories I have at mom's, she was definitely trying to have fun. She was very early on after my brother was born. I think that's when she really started in on hard drugs. Meth, heroin. She had a new boyfriend shortly before she went to prison. And I think that's when everything took a turn for the worst. She was arrested for shoplifting, but once they caught her shoplifting, they found narcotics on her. So, and also forging a check. So, a little bit of a rap sheet there. So we went to go live with my grandparents and kept in touch with mom through letters. And that mom, when we would get the phone calls and the letters, she was so loving. She really wanted the best for us. And She really loved her kids, and she wished she had done things differently so she could have been in our lives. Um, I think she just got caught up trying to find love, maybe, in all the wrong places, trying to find acceptance in all the wrong places. I know she struggled with depression and anxiety a lot. And so I think she really just got caught up trying to self-medicate all her life. And it was hard for her. I think that trying to raise kids after her own mom not being there, I think that was awfully triggering for her. And so I really do think she did the best she could with the tools she had. She always tried to stay as positive as she could. She never let us forget that she loved us a lot. She very regularly wrote us. She'd ask us how school was going, how sports were going, how our grandparents were doing. She would tell us, that she can't wait to see us again. She can't wait to hold us. She would tell us that she was going to do all the right things when she got out. She was going to, we were going to get a house and we were going to live together. And in one of the letters, she talks about how she wants to see all my sports games because my brother and I, we did a lot of sports growing up, and we wanted her to be there. What kid doesn't want their parents to be at their game? So, she wanted to be there for them. I think what I appreciate the most about the letters was just how hopeful she was. I read through them this morning, of course, and again, I read through them a lot. But one of the hope in them, she said, when I get out in 3 months, I want to come watch all your games. She had a plan of who she wanted to be after she was reunited with us. And I think that's what I like to hold on to, was who she wanted to be and who she was deep down. And I think that's who she was deep down comes through in those letters a lot. She was sober for a little bit, and she was a fantastic person. It was just her demons that really drug her down. I have such fond memories of my mom when she was sober. There's just so few of them. She was so funny. She loved to make us laugh, and she loved to laugh. And she had such a beautiful laugh, such a beautiful smile. But she didn't stay sober long. She wasn't granted custody of us. And I think that was really hard on her. I think that, and I don't know, maybe she would have still relapsed even if she had been granted custody of us, but she hadn't. And then she met another man, and soon after had relapsed. And then fell pregnant with my youngest brother. And so now there's 3 of us. And then went back to jail. She spent some of her pregnancy in jail. And then shortly after she was released, had my youngest brother. But she didn't have custody of him very long either. um, before she just completely went off the rails, and ended up back in Topeka. So for the majority of my mom's life, as I was older, she was living in Topeka, Kansas, and she spent a lot of time there. I stayed in touch with my mom as much as I could bear. She oftentimes would call me to say she wanted to get better and she wanted to come back to Wichita. She wanted to be there for her granddaughter, and she wanted to be there for her kids. And I always said, yes, absolutely. I can come get you. I can, let's arrange it. But it never happened. And she was with a new partner. Her and my youngest brother's dad had divorced, and she's with a new partner in Topeka. And I hadn't ever met the man, but just heard about him. But yeah, I still stayed in contact with my mom. She asked for pictures a lot, so I'd send pictures all the time, hard copies and digital copies all the time. She just wanted pictures. She'd call to see how things were going. She'd call sometimes to just tell me about her day, just on a random Tuesday. Just call and want to talk.
Hi, Panda Bear. I love you. I just haven't heard from you in a while and had the chance to call you and talk to you, and I hope you're doing well. I love you and I miss you so much. Bye, baby.
The last time I actually saw her was my high school graduation, which we had to really pull some strings to get her there. Because, and really, Topeka's not far from Wichita, but she had no money, none. So we paid for her bus ticket to come, and then made her some accommodations to stay while she was here, because she was in active addiction at the time. And, getting somebody who's in active addiction to step out of their comfort zone and go somewhere else is not easy, but she did it. She was there. And I'm so glad she was. And I know she is too. August 26, 2021, I got a call from a 785, which is Topeka area code, 785 number. And so I didn't think at the time of it being a Topeka area code. I had a boss at the time with a 785 area code, so I thought it was my boss. And I answered it all happy jolly. I said, "Hey, what's up?" And it was a sheriff from the Topeka police department. And he called to tell me that my mom was dead. He was just straight out with it. He said, I'm sorry, I have to tell you that your mother's dead. And I said, "Oh, what happened?" "What do you mean? What happened?" And he said, "Well, we're not sure at this point." And regrettably, I lost it on the man. He's just the messenger. But I said, "Well, that's bullshit. Absolutely. What do you mean you don't know? It was drugs, wasn't it?" And he said, "Well, there is some paraphernalia, but I don't know. We can't determine that that's the cause right now." So I said, "Okay." I said, "What now?" He gave me all the details. We hung up. And I only ever spoke again to her boyfriend, because he reached out to me afterwards. So that was the one and only time I had spoke with the man. He offered his condolences, and I asked what had happened, and he said he just found her early in the morning, like 6 a.m. in her bed. I did go through her phone because the police gave me her phone afterwards. I went through some messages, and, she had met up with some friends that night to get high. It doesn't specify. I don't know for sure if she was using fentanyl purposely recreationally or if it was laced in meth. I'm not sure. The toxicology report doesn't even make that clear, and I don't know if they can tell that type of stuff. But yes, I do know she was getting high that night with friends, and I thought about reaching out to some of the friends that she had been with that night, but I didn't. Part of it's because I don't know what to say. I want to know more about what happened, but I think maybe part of me doesn't. I think maybe I'm just looking for someone to blame when I know that that's not gonna change anything. It's not gonna make anything better. Maybe I'm just scared of the truth, or maybe I'm just scared of lies. Maybe I'm scared of them not being honest with me, and always wondering if that's true. A big part of the reason, maybe, and I forgot about this, but shortly after she passed, one of the friends that she had been getting high with and spending time with had posted a GoFundMe to raise money for the funeral costs, which was already taken care of. So we quickly reported all that and had that shut down because it was clear it was not what the money was for, because, again, my family had already taken care of it. There was quite a few of us that were very upset about that, and thankfully it was shut down before it gained any traction, because my paternal grandparents had covered all the costs, so there was no need for a GoFundMe, and it was very, very upsetting that someone would use her passing to their benefit. Begs to question if they ever cared about her at all, other than that was even in one of the messages I read from the night that she passed. One of her friends had said, do you have an extra pipe? Mine broke. And my mom said yes. And then the friend said, are you still going to share some of your stuff with me? So, I mean, I think she was just used for everything at that point. I think I just decided to move on from, maybe I just didn't want a part of that part of her life anymore. It's already hard enough that the drugs took her, that I didn't really want to associate with anyone from Topeka, from that part of her life anymore. My brother and I, my middle brother and I, share Mom's ashes, and shortly after everything was said and done, her boyfriend reached out to me and said, you don't deserve those. I deserve those. I want them back so I can take her to California and have her ashes spread like she wanted. And so there's so much animosity coming from that part of her life that I think I would rather wonder for the rest of my life than to try and open those doors that are just full of pain. I want everyone to know for sure. it's important for those who are in active addiction to know that they are loved. I think she struggled a lot with really believing she wasn't loved. Even after she got out of prison, her and her mom tried to make amends, because there was always, I think my mom always felt abandoned by her throughout childhood. And so they always were kind of at odds, and they tried to make amends. And my mom lived with her for a little bit after she got out of prison when she wasn't granted custody of us. But they had a very big blowout when my mom started using again. And so I think if my mom had really believed that her mother loved her, that her father loved her, that her kids, unconditionally, I think if she had known that, it would have been easier for her to accept help. And so I think it's also important for those who have somebody in active addiction to show that unconditional love. It doesn't mean, handing them whatever they want whenever they want, but letting them know that you do love them. You are there to listen to them, and if they want help, that you will connect them with help. It really does make a world of a difference with someone who is fighting those demons, to just let them know, just to be present. You don't even have to do anything most of the time, just to be present. I wonder sometimes if I should have been more present, if that would have helped her. She never got to meet her granddaughter. Even though she was born a few years before my mom passed. It didn't happen. I never made it up there. She definitely didn't make it down here. It's hard. Losing her, it was hard enough that she wasn't in my life. But then to lose her to it, the same thing that kept her from me all that time, it was hard. I wanted her to win so bad.